Under investigation, could dozens of NYPD officers be charged in the George Floyd protest here in the city last summer? The reason, many of them couldn't be investigated.
Temperatures made a turnaround today, how we won't be quite as chilly by morning.
If you've got a sweet tooth, brace yourself. New York Live with a woman behind the Midtown Candy Institution. Well, this is News 4 Now for October 19th. I'm Michael Gargiulo. Dozens of NYPD officers, they're facing discipline for their actions during last year's protests in the wake of the death of George Floyd. The officers face discipline for conduct during those protests. 65 NYPD officers could face disciplinary charges. The Civilian Complaint Review Board, the CCRB, says it completed 127 investigations after the protest and found officers who engaged in use of force, abuse of authority, lying, and using offensive language. 37 officers are expected to face an administrative trial. 28 others will likely be ordered to undergo more training or lose vacation days.
We anticipated some cases coming down. The officers will have their day in court. It's going to be tried by Civilian Complaint Review Board personnel. If they're found guilty, we have a discipline matrix, Pat, that over 90% of the time, by CCRB's own records, we're in agreement.
The board estimates some 34% of the complaints could not be investigated because the alleged victims couldn't identify specific officers. The head of the PBA is blasting the report, saying the officers are being made into scapegoats. The Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan, it's now empty. The last few inmates being held at the facility have been transferred to the detention center in Brooklyn. The MCC was once held as a prototype for a new kind of federal jail and the most secure in the country, but in recent years it had fallen into disrepair. The MCC held a number of high-profile inmates, including Jeffrey Epstein. Well, ridership is slowly coming back on the subways, but unfortunately, so are crimes on the subway. The MTA says while overall crime is at a 25-year low, specific types of crimes have seen a spike. According to the NYPD, thefts, they jumped by 50% last month. Robberies also increased last month, while the number of assaults, they've stayed about the same. The MTA says more police are on patrol in an effort to deter criminals.
More riders on board. So when you have more riders, you have more opportunity for more crime.
They don't have enough cops there, and everybody's doing whatever they want to do, and everybody's just standing near the platform where they shouldn't be standing.
The MTA recently finished installing security cameras at all 472 subway stations. Officials are also considering redesigning the turnstiles to make it more difficult for people to avoid paying the fare. Well, we now know the fate of a popular zoo in New Jersey. The Middlesex County Board of Commissioners has decided to close the Johnson Park Animal Haven. It was heavily damaged when Hurricane Ida flooded the zoo, trapping the animals. We're told those animals are being moved to other sanctuaries, to other zoos, and to rescue farms across the state.
Hi there, I'm Storm Team 4 meteorologist Maria LaRosa. Hope you enjoyed a nice crisp fall afternoon. Still enough of a breeze that it kept it feeling cool at times, but temperatures were 5 to 10 degrees warmer than the day before. So that's the trend over the next couple of days. Still brisk as we head into tomorrow morning. Temperature-wise, we stay in the 60s through the dinner hour and then slowly falling off into the mid-50s. So tomorrow morning going to be not as chilly. In between now and tomorrow morning, you're going to get a glimpse of this bright, beautiful full moon. It is the full hunter's moon, the name for the October full moon. It rises this evening and sets tomorrow morning, also known as the falling leaves moon. So you'll see that bright and shining tomorrow. 55 for the low in the city, not as chilly as the last couple of mornings. 56 in Newark, the low 53 in White Plains, generally in the 50s across the area, on our way up into the 70s.
They make over 100 flavors of licorice, and New York Live is now with the New York Candy Shop. That's a Midtown favorite, and it's also one of a kind.
Feeling like a kid in a candy shop doesn't even begin to describe how you'll feel when you step inside Meisel's Chocolate on West 55th Street. It is one of the last old school chocolate shops in the city, and truly the sweetest gem the city has to offer.
With its old world charm and candy-coated walls,
Walking into Meisel's is more like taking a trip back in time, with every inch, nook, and cranny covered in chocolate, candy, and more types of licorice than you likely ever knew existed.
We have over 150 different kind of licorice.
You've got Spanish fruit licorice twisters, Spanish licorice wheels, Italian spaghetti licorice.
It is a lot. It is a lot. It's just like a treasure chest of sweets.
40 years ago, owner Camilla Meisel immigrated from Poland seeking asylum. The second she stepped foot in New York, she was home.
For the first time I came to Manhattan, I just got shocked. When I saw the vibrance, the thousands of people, I said to myself, that's it. This is my city. Okay, so you have 5 truffles.
Camilla and her late mother opened the shop in 1990, and Camilla has been supplying Midtown's sugar-obsessed ever since.
Here you go. This is for you, okay?
Camilla will tell you the chocolates are made by hand and from the heart. The cookies, her grandma's recipe. As for the licorice,
I used to have a boyfriend, the Dutch boyfriend who taught me about the licorice, and I just fell in love with licorice. And
what happened to the boyfriend?
Oh, he's gone, but the love for licorice stays.
Camilla, what do you think that girl who came to the U.S. 40 years ago, not knowing a word of English, would think of all of this that you have created?
I never would expect in my life to come from Poland in such a difficult time with almost nothing, and to make something for myself.
New York City's a lot sweeter because of you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
A statue that stood in the council chambers for centuries will be moved, and it's due to Thomas Jefferson's slave-owning past. News 4's Erica Byfield now on where it could be headed next.
Thomas Jefferson's complicated past has gotten a statue of his likeness removed.
I agree with that.
And if he represents something bad, then maybe he should be removed.
Standing more than 7 feet tall, the statue has sat inside the city council chamber since 1915, but Jefferson's history in City Hall stretches back to 1834. That's the year that a Jewish naval officer gifted it to the city as a way to celebrate the founding fathers' stance on religious freedom. Jefferson publicly opposed slavery, but enslaved hundreds of people over his lifetime, something that infuriates many.
These are insults to our people. These are not statues that should be erected. They should be in history, I agree with that, and tell the whole story.
I believe it's time for us as a city to turn the page and move forward.
New York City's Public Design Commission debated the issue for hours on Monday and ultimately decided,
I vote yay,
to remove the statue from the chamber. Its final destination will get ironed out before the end of the year.
But he was a hypocrite, as were most of the founders of this country.
That's what historian Todd Fine told us and the commissioners today. He was a part of the group who wanted the statue to move to a different part of City Hall, like the governor's room.
If we wanted to eliminate people who were associated with slavery from this building, we would be eliminating almost all sculptures and paintings from City Hall.
The statue is a model of a bronze one that once sat on the White House lawn and is currently on display in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda, while the one in the City Council chambers, days are numbered.
It should be removed completely.
Erica Byfield, News 4, New York.
Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.